Good morning, I'm Mike Mallory. We continue to follow the deadly EF3 tornado that hit Brookport, Illinois on Sunday. State Police holding another news conference to update us on damage and recovery efforts. We go there live right now.
As well as emergency management agencies and law enforcement for their cooperation and working with us to get a successful restoration. We was able to restore power fairly quickly. The whole town of Brookport was restored by late yesterday afternoon, and we was able to do that without any safety incidents, so that was a successful restoration. The first step is getting the power restored so the village of Brookport can start rebuilding. So anybody that is still without power is probably due to issues on their side that they'll need to make some kind of repairs at their home, and then we'll be here to connect their service. Just because the power is restored in Brookport doesn't mean that we're leaving. You'll still see us around, still doing some cleanup, as well as being available when those customers are restored, ready to have their power restored. So now our thoughts are just with the customers in Brookport to rebuild back. Thank you.
Thanks, Tina. I'm now going to ask that Chris Bennett with Southern Illinois Electric Cooperative come up and talk about where they're at as far as their status with their utilities in the affected areas. Chris.
Thank you, David. Like you said, I'm Chris Bennett with Southern Illinois Electric Cooperative out of Dongola. And like Tina, I'd like to echo our appreciation for all of the first responders that was here. It was quite devastating to come into what we saw Sunday evening, and they just did a wonderful job of helping to channel all the traffic. I know once our trucks and all rolled in and stuff, that they certainly helped us to be able to work in the areas that we needed to get into and lighten the congestion of the traffic for quite a bit. We had about 500 that was initially out of power, basically on 3 different of the rural roads here, and by 10 o'clock that evening, we were able to get everybody back on, but about 175. And those remaining 175 were all reconnected last afternoon, just about 3 o'clock or so yesterday. We have about 28 people that are not in service at this point, and that's due to problems on their side. Some of it's just due to complete destruction, and some of it's just needed repairs and stuff before they can be safely connected. We had several poles, as you can expect. It was all broken down, a lot of 3-phase poles. We had to completely restring 16 spans of 3-phase, so it just takes some time. But I want to express appreciation to our own employees for what they did, the work that they achieved in less than 24 hours, getting everybody back on. It's just a real testament to everybody's work ethics. And again, with Brookport, again, we appreciate the help that they've given us also. And thoughts and prayers goes out with everybody here at this time. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Yesterday at the press conference in the afternoon, we talked about a couple of the donation aspects of this incident, and we had a couple of monetary donation sites we went through, gave that information out. We do have another avenue for monetary donations. I'm going to have Lisa Brimmer come up and give that information if we could get that out to cover those type of donations. Lisa.
Thank you very much. In addition to the ones that already are available, a Brookport Unionville Disaster Relief Fund has been set up. Donations can be made to this. It is a 501c3, and so it will be a tax-deductible donation. You may give at City National Bank in Metropolis in person, or if you want to go to SICF.org, which stands for Southern Illinois Community Foundation, you can also give there. At that link, there is banks in the area, and City National is on that list. Also, at that link, you will see a specific place where this disaster comes up, and you can connect with that link. So you're designating exactly what the money is going to. This flow-through foundation will then send the money back to Massac County, and it will be administered by a committee, which is in the works as I speak, of local Massac County residents. SICF was used during the Harrisburg tornado a year and a half ago, and it's basically going to take care of the administrative end so that we meet all tax criteria and federal criteria, and then can get this money back this direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Like we talked about, and everybody knows this ongoing situation, we always have our constant security issues and safety issues. So I'm going to have Trooper Mike Usher with the Illinois State Police District 22 talk about where we stand as far as the safety and security goes for Brookport and the Massac County area. Mike.
Trooper Mike Usher with the Illinois State Police District 22. Just want to go over a few things today. Residents in the area need to be aware of their surroundings. There's a lot of limbs still on the roadway. There's debris up in trees. It could fall. Need to really pay attention to that. There's a lot of power lines still down in the roadway. There's heavy equipment that's being operated on these roads. It's going to be hard to drive around. You need to pay attention to the heavy equipment. Vehicles are being allowed to drive across the Brookport Bridge into Kentucky. However, you cannot return into Illinois. You'll have to find another means to return into Brookport. The curfew will remain into effect 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Again, no sightseeing. If you don't need to be in Brookport, there's no reason to go in there. And the state police will continue to maintain checkpoints and patrol Brookport. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, now I've got basic status updates as far as it goes, as far as where we stand from the emergency management perspective, as far as where we're at with damage assessment and all those various aspects. The state EMAT team completed the damage assessment yesterday in Massac County. This is not within the city of Brookport. Specifically, this is in the county, which would be out on Unionville Road and other affected areas. There were a total of 48 homes that were identified by the damage assessment team as far as having any type of damage. Now, when I say 48, that runs the range of habitable without repairs to total losses. That's the breakdown right now on that. I can give you specific numbers if you guys want, but that's the actual number right now, that we have 48 homes in that area that's been identified for the damage assessment purposes. The EMAT team is going to be working in Brookport today, and we'll be finishing up the damage assessment in Brookport today. So we'll have the final numbers on the Brookport side later today or tomorrow. And we can get those numbers out to you guys tomorrow on that. As far as victim registration, we announced this yesterday, but I'm going to go ahead and repeat this. Anybody who is an affected person from the tornado can do their registration at the Brookport City Council chambers. That would be today's date from 8 to 4. There will also be mobile registration occurring out in the Unionville area that had the other major damage out there. Additionally, people can call 618-564-2351. That's at Brookport City Hall, and that number also allows somebody to register over the phone. Now, the registration is comprised of your name, address, and then what type of needs you are basically in need of from the disaster. Now, this could be disaster cleanup assistance. You know, you may have debris in your yard, things like that. Also, if you're going to be requesting any other type of assistance, they'd be able to get that information and then be able to forward that on to either emergency management or to our volunteer management people. So that's where we're going to ask people to deal with that. The Ministerial Alliance of Metropolis is helping coordinate that, and so when they may be out in the Unionville area, we would ask people, obviously, checking on who's coming out there to see them. They may see people in and around their neighborhood asking them for that information, but those people will be out in that area. The volunteer management is something that's been going on. We had to put people off. I think everybody knows about that issue because we had to get the damage assessment process completed, get our debris management plan done, and we're in the process of that with the damage assessment being completed. The volunteer management is still going to occur for their registration tomorrow at 8:30. Now, we do have a change in the location. I apologize for that, but because of logistical issues, we've made this change, and we hope this will alleviate a lot of logistical issues for tomorrow. That's going to be changed to Veaches, which is up there at the intersection or the junction of Route 45 and 145, which is just there off the I-24 exit, there to the west, or correction, the east of the interchange. And what we're asking people is to go there, and they'll be registered as a volunteer. If they wish to volunteer, they'll be given tasks and assignments once we know that we have those available for them to do. The registration, again, with that is being coordinated by the Ministerial Alliance of Metropolis, and they'll be taking all that information. In speaking with them and in advance of tomorrow, I do have a list of things that we're going to ask volunteers if they're going to show up. I'm going to go through that real quick. If we can get this out to the public, whoever's interested, they are asking that people come properly dressed. Obviously, people need to know what the weather's going to be like tomorrow, be dressed accordingly. Need to have good shoes, no flip-flops. They need to bring gloves. They need to bring tools if they plan on providing any type of support that would involve using tools. It may be something as basic as a hammer to help hammer up some siding. It may be a chainsaw. Again, they're going to be responsible for bringing their own equipment to use. They will not be provided. You need to become prepared to be self-sufficient. Obviously, we can't support and make sure that you've got everything. You know, if you need a bottle of water, you may need to bring some commodities like that. So people need to be cognizant of that when they come out. Additionally, one thing that they stress is be prepared to be patient. Whenever you show up and there's maybe 200 people in front of you to be registered, it's going to take a while. We have had a lot of interest. We had a lot of people show up the other day that we had to turn away. We regret that, but again, we had to have our process in place. We think we've got the proper process in place for that, and they're going to receive a short training session on safety when they show up, as well as get their basic registration information completed at that time. It also may be a little bit of time on getting them sent out to the various locations that they're needed. So again, that will be addressed tomorrow when they register. They're also going to point out that they want to hand out work assignments as long as they last. If we only have 2 people called today saying they need some debris removed and one lady needs a tree cut off of her house, those may be the only 2 missions that we send volunteers out. It may be wrapped up pretty quick. It may take all day. We can't guarantee that. Once we get through today's registration process for victims, we would expect we have a pretty good list of mission assignments. So we would expect that to be enough that we can give people some work and be able to help their fellow neighbors out. So that's where we stand with the volunteer management, and also what we would anticipate after the registration, we'd have their information that we could follow up if they say, hey, I'm available over the weekend, I'm available next Monday. So that would be our anticipation that we have that capability. As far as other long-term recovery issues, we are going to be getting all the information compiled from the damage assessment that we'll then get with the state of Illinois through IEMA, and also coordinate with FEMA. That's going to be the process we look at. If there's going to be any aspect of a federal declaration, you guys remember in Harrisburg there was not a federal declaration due to the monetary amount that didn't meet the criteria threshold for the state of Illinois. With the tornadoes that occurred Sunday, obviously there's no guarantees that we could get a federal declaration, but that's why we're getting this information compiled and why the state of Illinois is going to want as exact numbers as we can get. So that's a process that we're doing right now, specifically getting all that compiled and tabulated, and also working on a debris management plan. We would anticipate with the debris management getting that out to you guys, pushed out here just in press release format one way or the other, because we will have a couple of sites set up that we can do that. But once we have the debris management plan in place, we will definitely let everybody know, because we would anticipate people would be allowed to take some of their debris to get that removed and taken care of. So that's sort of where we stand with our operations at this point. Does anybody have any questions for me? Ashley?
Can you spell where the place is again?
Veeches. Lieutenant, you got it?
I think it's Veeches.
Okay.
That is the old abandoned gas station.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that
It's
truck?
VEACH apostrophe S.
okay?
VEACH apostrophe S.
And it's no longer open. It's the truck stop gas station right there by Interstate 24 on the south side.
Okay, thank you.
Where are the people that don't have a home at this point? Is the Red Cross basically housing them, or the
Correct.
majority of them staying in with family and friends?
The Red Cross has a shelter set up at the church in Metropolis, as they have since Sunday night. The last numbers I had seen were 3 that were specifically staying there, but they've also had some people coming off and on with some of the needs. You know, I need some clothes or whatever, so they have been providing those services, the support mass care services, and the registration for that. As with a lot of disasters that are localized, we see a lot of people go to their family members. They go to a neighbor's house. They go some other location. So we don't have any, I couldn't give any specific numbers as far as where the displaced people are going, just because some of these people have never contacted. I've worked a lot of disasters where we know we have a community of this number evacuated, but we only have 10 people show up at the shelter. And we never hear from these people, because when they're let back in, they never say anything, because their house has no issues and we just didn't know where they went. So it's sometimes a little bit of a fluid issue, because Red Cross may have somebody come in and say, hey, my house is tore up, I need a blanket. They get a blanket and they go home and they never come back. So it's a little bit of a fluid thing to say I have a number of 43 people specifically displaced at this point. But that also part is our damage assessment process, because there's certain data that we ask and try getting out with that. But again, that's also hard right now at a preliminary point to give specific numbers on that.
And I guess the curfew at this point, till further notice for at least tonight, or are we thinking the rest of the week? I mean, what are the thoughts behind that?
Day-to-day basis.
Day-to-day.
Do we have any inkling as to injuries, or have we revised any fatalities either?
Fatalities remain at the 3 that were confirmed originally. The other on the injuries, I know we keep saying the number 13, and that seems to be what's been floating. Again, some of those issues are with the hospital. Some people were taken over to Paducah. That's a different issue, trying to get all those numbers. But I haven't had anything different saying there was 25 people or 30 people or anything like that specific that we've got as far as those numbers.
Do we have any numbers on how many homes have been affected in Brookport and Unionville yet?
The Unionville aspect is that 48, that number I gave earlier. That was the out in Massac County number specifically. As the team gets done today, we'll know the specific numbers in Brookport. So we'll have both those tabulated total. If you guys want, I do have the specific breakdown on the damage if you want that. if you want, I can pull that off my phone. I just gave that number 48 as the one specifically identified, but if you want that, I can get that here just real quick. That'll give you the actual breakdown of how we classified the damage. And again, this classification system is what we use to provide to the state and the feds. When you hear it, it may be like, I have no clue what he's talking about, but this is the classification we use. There were 4 total homes that were habitable without repairs, so I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You know, it has damage, but you don't even have to hammer anything up or add anything. There were 15 that were habitable with few repairs. So again, that could be something that involves maybe tarping. You know, it's a varied scale of what that requires. There were 9 that were uninhabitable that need extensive repairs. Again, that could be substantial roof damage, wall damage, window damage. Again, sliding scale of what you rate that at. And there were a total of 20 that were rated at total loss, not feasible for repair. So that's a pretty substantial number when you look at this. And then when you heard the National Weather Service talk about it being an EF3, it makes sense that those type of numbers could come with something like that.
How long does it typically take for a declaration or to figure out anything along those lines?
Well, the declaration process is sort of a multi-step aspect. Obviously, you have your local declaration, which was issued. Then the state actually declared a disaster Sunday. The governor issued a disaster proclamation actually Sunday when all this pushed through. So that automatically started the process. Once all these numbers come in, because not only are we doing this, New Minden's doing that, up in Washington, up in Tazewell County they're doing it, LaSalle County, I think there were a total of 8 now counties in the state that are declared state disasters. Once all that preliminary damage assessment is completed, all that goes into our regional IEMA offices. They're going to go over that with us who've done the local damage assessment. Then that all gets forwarded to Springfield. The state looks at it and says, okay, do we meet the damage threshold to apply for a federal declaration? Once the state determines that we meet that criteria, then what they do is, through the governor and IEMA, request a federal declaration to the president. Then it's reviewed at the FEMA level, then the recommendations made for the president to declare the federal declaration. But it's sort of a really stepped out process that you have to go through and meet criteria. And it's also worth mentioning that each state has a varied scale on what their monetary criteria is. Illinois, having Chicago, our population is more, so therefore our threshold per capita is more. So, you know, you might hear something in a smaller state that has a lower population, like Iowa, may get more of a threshold for a community like this getting hit, whereas we have to meet a higher threshold of damage. So that's sort of a real brief, convoluted way of describing how a federal declaration goes, but that's the basic process that would go through. So that's why we want to be very specific on our damage assessment.
Do you have any idea of the...
The one thing that we'll get with is as the insurance adjusters and insurance companies make contact, that'll be some of the data that we'll need because also once it would be coming to the federal side of things, the feds will go into that side of it asking, was this location insured? Was it not insured? And we have to actually ask if a location's insured. We aren't asking amounts or anything like that specifically, but we have to ask if it's insured. And part of that goes in the direction of if you're insured, it doesn't fall in the federal declaration side of things. But again, there's all that correlation has to be made. So as the steps progress, there's further information that we would get. Also, when you look at businesses, that also integrates with the Small Business Administration. We had them up during the flooding a couple years ago that were dealing with that. So it's the same type of issue and same type of process. But you have to look as you move in the steps of, okay, now we need to address how much was that house valued at, so on and so forth.
You said that the debris removal plan is kind of in the works right now, but next couple of days it looks like we've got some rain coming up, and it's going to get really cold over the weekend as
Absolutely.
well. How will that hamper or hinder any recovery, any removal efforts?
As with anything we do in emergency management, that's part of our planning process. Obviously, we work with the National Weather Service. As we know what to expect, we'll probably do requests for them to get the updates of knowing, okay, Friday, if we're going to start having stuff moved, what's it going to be like? Obviously, if we're doing any type of a burn site's going to be affected by rain and wind. That may affect if we have a burn site. So as we progress and get the plan put in place, again, we have to have all the damage assessment done before we actually get the plan integrated and put together that we're going to put out for public safety. But we would anticipate working with that. And we absolutely do coordinate on that with the National Weather Service on what our weather's going to be like, especially for burn sites.
And again, with the weather and stuff like that, are we going to have the shelters open for maybe a little bit longer, a little bit more prolonged period of time, or is that open indefinitely, or is that...
As long as there is a need, the shelter will be open. As long as there's a need, the Red Cross and Salvation Army will be here providing services. And all of us, the power company and state police, the sheriff, emergency management, local authorities, everybody's going to be here as long as it takes to get everything taken care of. It's not going to be, we all just pack up tomorrow at 4 o'clock and you don't see us again. You guys probably don't want to see me again because most of the time you don't want to. But it's one of those things of going forward. We'll definitely be here. There's going to be support services. The state declaration also helps provide additional state assets as we need it. Makes it a lot easier to secure some state assets in that respect. So with the declaration effect, we're good to go. And we're in for the long term, and we're actually looking at, and that's one thing you do, I'm giving you a little bit more background you probably want, but when we get boots on the ground from emergency management, we're not only looking at dealing with the search and rescue within the first 4 hours of the disaster, we're looking at what is our long-term recovery, because we have to be in that mindset. So that's what we're doing now, and that's what the debris management plan will do, also with our mass care issues with the Red Cross and Salvation Army. So we've got that, addressed, or we're looking at it too.
And it still might be a little preliminary, but do we estimate how long this initial recovery effort will take?
Wouldn't want to give a 2-day, 3-day, 2-week type of estimate, because issues always arise. We say it's going to be 3 days before we get debris management started. Well, if it starts snowing and raining, we can't do the burn site. It may be next week. So a little bit premature to give a specific date or time frame. With the assessment process and the process that involves the federal declaration, that's obviously a little bit more of a time-consuming effort, so it's very hard to say anything related to that of a time frame to give, because I just hate doing that, because if I say it's going to take 2 weeks to hear back from FEMA may take 3 weeks. They may take 2 days. Really hard to estimate. Any other questions?
Will there be an opportunity for the media to survey the damage that was done on Unionville, in the Unionville area?
Right now, I think Unionville we're still considering it shut down right now, because we do have the power company still out there. There's still some of that going on. We do have some other people working out there right now. So we'd have to just do that as sort of a follow-up. If you guys want to follow up with us the next couple of days, see what we can make arrangements for. Right now, it's still only shut down to local traffic and public safety and support services.
What about availability tomorrow when the volunteers start coming in?
As far as
media be able to maybe?
I don't see out at Beaches, that's probably going to be a really congested area. Obviously, if you guys want to go up there and do something with that, I don't think there's any issue. Just going to be, be cognizant of everything that's going on, because there'll be a lot of traffic and things like that.
So we couldn't go out with any crews?
That's going to get down to a safety issue, and with the safety stuff, it's going to be a real big issue unless we can make specific arrangements. But I think we'd have to address that on a case-by-case basis, because we also don't know what the missions are going to be tomorrow. We may not have any missions tomorrow, so it might be a bunch of people showing up and say, come back tomorrow. I don't anticipate that. I think we will have submissions, but it's just going to be one of those things as a ad hoc type of thing, is once it comes in, they get sent out, and we can maybe make arrangements or something like that, but just let us know.
Can you give me that number again to where people can register?
The phone number for the registration?
Yes.
Yeah, it is 618-564-2351. 618-564-2351, and that is the number for Brookport City Hall, and they did have somebody there that was taking that information earlier when I know they confirmed that.
That's for folks that are affected.
Yeah, if they can't make it up to the city council chambers, or they aren't seeing the mobile registration site out on Unionville Road, they could call that number and at least get their name down, contact info, say I need help with shingles or whatever.
And there are mobile sites around?
The Ministerial Alliance has a mobile group set up to do registration out on Unionville Road, going basically house to house, location to location, to say what are your needs, can we do this, and go forward with that.
Are there specific hours for the city council place?
Basically, that line was going to be an 8 to 4 type of thing, so that's what we had set yesterday. Again, obviously, if the need arises, that can go longer if we need to, or we just continue that number available tomorrow or into the next day.
And what time do you want volunteers to arrive tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow, the registration was going to be at 8:30 out there at Beaches, like we talked about. We anticipate people will probably show up a little bit early, but the registration team will be there, be able to get the information, and hopefully get everybody out and being able to help.
Do you have any information, any details on any damage done in the Paducah area? Because I know you had said yesterday that you had got a weather spotter that had reported seeing a tunnel around North 8th Street.
I haven't heard. I'd have to refer that over to McCracken County or Paducah. I haven't heard anything specific as far as what was seen over in Kentucky at all. Anybody got anything else?
One thing that you said made me think, we've had donated so many things
Here,
in
Lisa, come over here so they got the mic.
We've had donated in Massac County so many things, and it's so appreciated for these folks. One of the things that I know is still going to be needed is tubs, because when the people come, we are trying to put what we give them in a tub with a lid, so that when they go back to their homes, they can get what mementos they find and have something to put them in that will not break, and it's not cardboard and stuff. So if there are people still wanting to do material type things, tubs taken to the First Baptist Church in Metropolis will be used when we're dispersing this stuff out throughout the county, even on the Unionville side, because all of the groups that are set up are working very well together.
Kind of want a specific size or anything? Or?
Just plastic tubs with a lid.
Thanks, Lisa, for that additional info. So, like I said, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and just call.
One more quick question.
Sure.
Displaced animals, can you give some details on the rescue efforts with that?
We did have the information yesterday. If people want to donate, we had that pet supply stuff. I haven't heard anything specific from anyone that's reported any specific pet rescue issues. Obviously, that does arise in this. You have displaced pets because the house is destroyed or something. But I haven't had any specific calls, or we haven't been notified of anything specific to that effect right now. Obviously, animal control would make contact if there's an issue, put that in place with anything like that. But not to my knowledge if we had any calls specific to a pet rescue operation. Any other questions? Going once, twice. Just to add that it's been really good working with all you guys. If you need anything, just give us a call. And if we do need to set up another conference, we'll let everybody know. Thanks, guys.
Okay, guys, so today it's basically putting things into plan, and right now they're asking everybody that is affected to please go to the Brookport City Council, make sure that you register what kind of needs that you need, and then tomorrow all the volunteers, if you want to get here around 8:30 in the morning to help folks around their houses remove debris and that such, they're asking you to definitely pack appropriately, wear the appropriate clothing, pack some water, keep yourself hydrated. And all those needs will be met as people get here and as they kind of get that plan in place tomorrow morning at 8:30. Something that is new today, definitely that's changed, is that Brookport Bridge there. You can leave Brookport on the Brookport Bridge. However, you cannot return to Illinois via the Brookport Bridge. You'll have to get back into Illinois through the Metropolis Bridge. So again, Brookport Bridge is open to those folks leaving Illinois but not entering Illinois. Again, just asking folks that are affected to please register your needs, and they'll get some volunteers out there to help you guys today as they come around. So again, we are here at the Brookport Library live. We'll come back to you guys with more information as we have it during the midday show. I'm Julie Collins. Thanks.